It's the next level.
Excuse me.
Oofta, you snuck up on me there. If you're looking for the cookies, we don't put them out till 3.
I can hardly wait. Do you happen to know where the Midwest Soybean Society is meeting?
Sure do. Muskellunge Banquet Room. You looking for your mom? She in for the convention?
Hey, could I get some change?
Oh, sure. I'll just look in my purse. Only a nickel and a couple of dimes. Oh, you are in luck, mister.
You know, some say the best luck is to die at the right time.
Hey Palmers, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this week we're covering The Umbrella Academy Season 2, Episode 7, Oga för Oga. And that's Swedish, but I don't know if I came across as saying it right.
Oh, it's as close as I would have been.
Yeah, Oga for Oga. But yeah, the synopsis for this episode would be, after 5 travels to 1982 to carry out his new mission, the siblings face a flurry of difficult decisions. Meanwhile, Carl issues a warning to Vanya. And yeah, I love the whole 1982 time travel and what he had to do within it. And to me, it was so vicious.
Oh, it
It was
was.
so vicious.
It was. This whole episode was really, really great as far as just
The action in the beginning.
action. Yeah, the action in the beginning, this flurry of activity that we have, and then just all the character. We got a lot of character stuff in this one. We got a lot of some of it's setting up definitely for the next episode, which I'm hopefully going to be able to watch as soon as we get done recording, because man, the ending of this one. But I'm sure we'll get to that when we get into our top 5s.
Oh, definitely. And we should get there right now.
Wonder if it's too late to be unadopted.
So what's your number 5?
So we started talking about it already, but that whole opening sequence that was just crazy. And what was the deal with the Fudge Nutter candy bar that he was trying to get? Is that a callback to season 1? I don't remember that
from
eating
anything.
those, or I just don't remember. And it was great. Just the way Aidan Gallagher plays Angry Killer was really, really good. And it took me, I watched this episode 3 times, and it took me a couple of times going to myself, wait a minute, how did he get to such a precise location and date? And then I realized it had to be the handler had to have sent him there.
Yes, yeah, because he doesn't really have like true control over his power if you think about
exactly. Yeah, so he's I loved how the woman, when she tackles him, she's ranting about the vending machine when there's this room full of dead bodies, and then the 2 waitresses that open the door and they look inside and they don't say a word, they just close the doors again. And it's just like one of those crazy things that I'm like, there's a room full of dead bodies. There's a kid there holding a hatchet or a mallet, whatever he had when the woman, I think he had the hatchet when she tackled him. Yep. And she's ranting about the vending. You're going to pay for that vending machine. Like, what? Like, what about? Yeah. So just that whole was wild.
It was all wacky and wild, but the action, and I just love the effects in it and how he's able to, the way he was like teleporting or going and swifting through time within that scene reminded me of like Nightcrawler in the X-Men and just bamfing through everything and going from point to point and just attacking them.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
It was.
And I'll lead into my number 5, which is the same thing, 5's vicious delivery to Fishbowl Head, or AJ, and everyone at that conference in 1982. I just love the delivery, the kills in the scene. It was definitely extremely vicious. I think this was a lot of blood in this particular scene itself.
Yeah.
But 5 means of getting what he needed due to his deal with the handler, which was to get rid of the board and hand over AJ to the handler.
Yeah.
And it's pretty funny how he hands her, AJ, and he's in a bag, like, kind of like when you get a goldfish at a
Right.
at a pet shop.
Yeah, exactly. Hilarious. Yeah. And then she just pours him into a bowl. I think I've got that in my notes that you can
And
still
he's still like complaining.
You can
the
still
fish
hear
is
his
still complaining.
Yeah, you can hear his voice. I'll do this to you and blah 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 because I had the closed captioning on so I could see that actually what he was saying. So
same here.
Very
it was
cool.
funny though. The fact that you get yelled at and you get talked back by a small fish that you could just easily just throw in a fire.
Exactly. Yeah. Hilarious. My number 4 is Ben and Klaus, the conversation they have before Ben possesses him. I thought it was really cool. We get a closer look at kind of their relationship, and I just loved it. It made me laugh every time Klaus kind of shut his eyes, Ben would get a little bit closer to him until he was finally like right there in front of his face. And but they had this real heart to heart about someone.
They had to.
Yeah, and it was really touching, a touching scene that Klaus finally kind of understood Ben, who has fallen in love with this woman and he can't be with her. And so he's expressing his feelings, and I just thought it was really great. It was very, like I said, very touching scene and really, really cool. Yeah. So you're number 4.
Well, that it leads into what you're saying. Ben is finally able to get into Klaus's body and use it for what he needs to talk to Jill, who he likes, and getting to be with the girl that he wanted to be with, even though it was in Klaus's body. The terms of Ben going into his body were way too funny, No cutting of the hair, no looky look down below because he's shy.
Yeah.
And, of course, he is dairy-free. So, you don't want that to happen on the first date, obviously, with her. I just love the battle between Klaus, though, towards the end, between Ben and Klaus, and to fight over that body. It was so funny to watch, because all you see is through Luther and Five's eyes going, what is going on?
Right.
And even Diego, they're like, what is going on here?
Yeah, it was great. I thought
that whole possession thing is something that we needed, and we needed to know exactly where Ben was, gonna go within the group itself.
Yeah.
How are they gonna, it's always been that thing where Klaus has always been hiding Ben, that he could talk to Ben, but he brings it up every so often.
Yeah.
But not as often as you would want, so that the other siblings could actually, figure out, yes, Ben is around us and Klaus is that vessel.
Yeah. Well, and that's even worse is that, Diego gets kidnapped before he can tell anybody else. I assume, unless that's going to be something that is going to be another one of those things that happened off screen, that like Luther is going to go, well, Diego told me that Ben is actually here, or something like that. He got swifted away by Lila before he's able to tell anybody. So that's it's going to be an interesting situation when they all get back together.
And your number 3?
My number 3 is just Carl, and how menacing he was in this episode. That actor, I didn't jot his name down. I probably should, but he was really, really good. This quiet kind of menace that he puts behind everything he says. And then, of course, that ending with his brother stopping Vanya and Sissy. And it was interesting because I had to watch it 2 or 3 times. I had to like back it up a couple times to understand exactly what was going on. Is that Vanya hits Jerry, the brother-in-law, with the door and kind of uses her power to push him off the road. Then she uses her power against the other 2 deputies or police officers, whatever they are. But she forgets that Jerry is off to the side, and he hits her with the shotgun. And so, because she hesitates because Sissy yelled or something like that. And it was just one of those things. It was interesting that she didn't realize that Jerry was over there. And so he was able to kind of get the drop on her and hit her with the shotgun. So,
yeah. That was an intense scene, though, just to see that, because you have Sissy and Harlan in the car.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's kind of confrontational. And I think this is like the first time that Sissy has seen Vanya use her abilities.
Oh,
really.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, she had no idea. Remember, and I think Harlan may have a little bit of an inkling that there's something there, even
Yes.
though he wasn't alive when she got him out of the water. But he definitely held her hand when that window cracked. So there may
It's like he knew something deep down.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
kind of like when we saw that thing and that whole little sparkly thing going through him when
Right.
she revived him back then.
exactly. So
Yeah.
it's going to be interesting
So
to
he
see
knew.
how that turns out.
So my number 3 would be Luther and Diego's research to find Olga Foroga. They didn't look into whether it was Swedish saying or a person's name. This had me rolling on the floor laughing. It just means eye for an eye in Swedish, apparently.
Yeah. I thought they immediately jumped to it being a name, and I'm like looking at what's on the floor, and I'm going that like it doesn't even look like a name. You like it was just I just couldn't. It floored me, and I guess we got to kind of put it in the department of this suspension of disbelief.
Well, they weren't as educated as Five was
no,
from
right, no,
from
I understand.
Hargreaves.
I get that, but I'm just saying that it was one of those things that it's you kind of got to suspend your disbelief a little bit that there just happened to be a woman in the phone book with that name. Yeah, with that exact name of how they were pronouncing it, even though it's spelled completely different on the floor in blood. They didn't like it. They're so dense, both of them. I guess is what we're supposed to understand. And
Well, he's the big gorilla, and the other one's the crazy
yeah.
killer,
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's just
and it's funny how Five has to clear them up for about it. It's like,
yeah.
it means eye for an eye, guys. Hello.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, and Diego's just like, sorry, wrong number or something like that.
Yeah.
But it is interesting too. It brings up an interesting point that they really bonded quite well with Elliot to have that much of a reaction to his death.
Yeah.
In just a short amount of time, they had really bonded with this guy to the point where they were so intent on killing his killer. So
I think they were very accepting of who Elliot was because he was different than anybody else in this world that you would see.
right,
He was a strange person, come on. But he was very accepting of them as well.
yeah,
And all their differences and their powers. Because at one point, we spoke about this before, where when Five just leaves, he's just like, whatever.
yeah,
You know?
yeah. He finally figures it out and just So very cool. So that brings us to my number 2.
Yes.
So we already talked a little bit about the handler putting AJ in the fishbowl, and we hearing him ranting. But I did think that was an interesting scene there when the handler makes Lila the head of security, and she's showing her those different fashion kind of uniforms at what she wants the security people to wear. But then Lila kidnaps Diego, and she calls him her boyfriend. And
Which is awesome.
Yeah, it was.
'cause we finally got that confirmation.
Yeah, and we also see here that history is, unless something more is gonna happen, that we've definitely changed history at this point. Because how is the group gonna come back together to be this kind of superhero force that's fighting for the United States government? Is that still going to happen? Have we changed so much with
I
Fives?
think it has changed because if it would have happened, it would have happened earlier.
You would think that they would have to have time to hone their powers to
Correct,
reunite, to get back together, have the government kind of recruit them, and then however it was done originally. So it's sad on one hand that we may be missing that storyline, but it's not really. We didn't necessarily have to have it. It just kind of would have been nice to see how in this original 1960s before Five came back, how they got together as a team.
It would have been cool to see as an alternate reality if they extended the episode, but
Yeah.
I don't think that we're going to get that at all.
No, unfortunately, I don't think so.
So that was your number 2, right?
That was my number 2, right? Brings us to your number 2.
My number 2 would be Allison and Ray. She tells Ray that she has to go and talk with Luther about leaving, but interrupted by the Swedes. At the same time, Vanya is trying to get Harlan and Sissy and go with her, but Carl shows up at the last minute, and we already talked about some of this. Ray gets in the corkscrew on one of the Swedes' legs, though, during that altercation with Allison and Ray.
Right.
But then Allison rumors the other brother to kill his brother, the last one, I guess, because we lost one brother, there's only 2 left.
Right.
the frantic feeling during the scenes were hard to deal with because I knew that they would be able to, they wouldn't be able to make the time. They can't make it to get to 5.
Yeah.
And to Diego and to Luther. It's only the 7th episode, and there's gonna be more coming. But what do we do after this? It's like okay, that got thrown out there.
Right. And I had a little bit of this in my Ray and Allison kind of in my notes a little bit. Is this whole this fight? It was heartbreaking, when she says when he's leaving to go meet with Robert Kennedy's people, and she says I love you, and he just kind of taps the door frame and leaves. But then later when he comes back and that fight is going on, you can see that there's for sure, when they're having that conversation and she says, I can rumor you to make you forget. And he says, no, I don't want to forget this year that we had together. I thought that was really, really sweet.
That was sweet.
Yeah. For him to say, okay, I realize, I accept the fact that you have these powers. I accept the fact that you're from the future. And now I accept the fact that you've got to go back. I don't want to lose that memory of you, though. So I thought that was really, really great and very touching.
Oh, definitely. It's something that was needed, a little bit of heart in there.
Yeah.
And you can see some of that heart between, Vanya and Sissy and Harlan, too. So that was what was needed, except for, 5 throwing a tantrum and throwing that suitcase.
Yeah, which that leads right into my number 1, which is this whole missing the window to supposedly go back to 2019. It's Diego misses it because Lila kidnaps him.
Yep.
Allison misses it because she's having this fight with the Swedes. Vanya misses it because the cops intervene. But they were all trying to bring somebody with them. And I have this later in my notes as well to kind of talk about this kind of a theme that I see forming in this season. But I want to mention something before I forget it about this missing this window to go to 2019. There was a part of me that thought that when Klaus threw up Ben, that he was going to actually physically be there, like be corporeal again, but apparently not, because Luther and 5 did not see him there. But then I started thinking, and the third time I watched it, I wonder if that briefcase was really going to take them back to 2019, or if it was going to do something different, because the handler did say she had a plan for 5 and that he was going to be the patsy for her taking over of the commission. So I wonder if that briefcase was going to send them like to the commission or, somewhere else to where the security people or something would know that they were the ones who did it. It's just speculation. We may never find out, but it'd be interesting to me if we do see what that briefcase would have actually done if they had used it. And I thought,
that's a good pull for the fact that who knows, maybe she put explosives in there, and maybe it was meant to, when they get wherever that time that she wanted 5 to be at,
right?
The other siblings were there. It could have just destroyed whatever was there.
Maybe it wasn't. Maybe it wasn't going to put them back to where they could write the destruction in 2019. Maybe it was going to put them right back where they were with the moon exploding. Who knows?
Correct, yeah.
But I did think, again, it was one of those things that came to me kind of on that third watch, is that 5 throws the briefcase in the air because he knows it's an area effect, and you've got to make sure you're out of the area of that, whatever that time field is. So I thought that was kind of cool that he threw it up in the air, and we get that effect of seeing the briefcase and that kind of time vortex or whatever open up. So
yeah, my number 1, parts of my number 1 we've already spoke about. Diego brought to the handler by Lila, and then obviously Lila's saying, "This is my boyfriend," and then Vanya's barricade on the road. All this is winding down to a stop. The kids to getting back to where they needed to be, and I just love the control of Vanya with her powers at that point too, because you saw a bit of control within it. But it scares Sissy and causes Carl to stop her. And then, of course, 5 tosses that bag into the portal,
Yeah.
But, it's, all these things that lead to that end. So where are they now? What are they going to do? How are they going to get back to where they need to be? how are they gonna fix this situation with the Swedes, because the Swedes, one Swede is still
Yeah,
after them.
I was gonna say I don't remember. Did he run out of the room or out of the house? Or he must have, right? It must have
Yeah.
run out after he killed his brother, and so we'll have to find out what he does now that he's killed his own brother. So
Yeah.
all right, so we got some notes here before we get into quotes. Why don't you start with yours that we didn't talk about?
I find it funny, though, that taxidermy that was in 1982 that Five sees when he goes to the Midwestern Conference.
Yeah.
That was just so weird, because apparently that was a mainstay back then.
Mm-hmm.
But, and it's just like, but it's him focusing in on it. It's like, what was there to focus? Is that something we have to really... I look for Easter eggs on occasion going, was that something really important?
Yeah, maybe it was an Easter egg for the comics or something. Like, I know that I read, I think in the IMDb trivia, when he says something about we didn't have to fight a sea monster, that there is a comic arc or an order of the comics where they did fight a sea monster. So that
cool.
may be something there. We talked about some of mine, but it threw me. It took me out of the episode a little bit every time, because I kept trying to figure out how Five got his clothes so clean. Because I understood he could wash the blood off of his hands and off of his face, but it was all over his jacket. It was all over his shirt.
Yeah, it was all over the place.
And suddenly he goes into the bathroom and he comes out and everything's perfectly fine. There's no splotches or anything on his. I'm like,
catch.
did he have another uniform in there?
I highly doubt it.
I don't. It doesn't. It just didn't make any sense to me. It really bugged me, bothered me every time I watched the episode. So
maybe they'll put out a Blu-ray and they'll have deleted scenes where he goes into the future or some other thing, and he goes to a laundromat. He has to sit there for a moment and then go back to the.
I hadn't even thought about that. I guess he could have. He could have transported. Yeah, he could have used the seconds or minutes time travel and then went back. That's possible, I guess. But
yeah, but that's a Back to the Future thing or a Ted.
Yeah,
Bill and Ted thing.
Yeah, seems a
it's
little.
like, oh, when I do this, I'll go do this.
Yeah, a little unlikely.
I have to add on to that, though. The attack on the candy machine. It's so funny about Five when we go back to it, and I just laugh at it for the fact that he has so much pent up frustration. It's just like it's something. It looked like a spoiled child that had to have what he wanted, but he's got the anger and vigor of like an old man.
Yeah,
it's like, I need this.
Yeah,
give it to me now.
Yeah.
The other point I would have would be the 77 minutes that Five tells Luther and Diego about getting everything together. He makes them use watches and sync them.
Yeah.
But that is a huge time crunch, especially with Vanya and Allison.
Yeah.
In the mix, as well as Klaus, and he's dealing with that whole thing with Ben, and Ben wanting to get with that girl.
Well, exactly, because the other thing is, just right with that is how close are they? I understand they're all in the same city, but gosh, Vanya's like out in the country somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
So she's got to be, she can't be real close. Allison's in a house in one part of town. Klaus has got a house, a mansion in a whole nother part of town, yet he's able to walk to the alley where they, that's when he's having that fight you mentioned with Ben, that he's running from his mansion, and he does make it actually to the alleyway. So, how close are things in this city? So anyway, not a big deal, but just one of those. And that was another thing that kind of bugged me about the episode was that, like you said, the timing was really tight.
It was very tight.
The other one I thought, and I didn't catch it until the third watch, I thought was kind of funny, was Five telling Diego that he's the patsy when actually it's Five who's going to be the patsy for the handler. I thought that
is true.
I thought that was interesting when they were talking the whole thing about that he's telling Diego that he's like Oswald and this and that, when it's actually Five is.
Yeah. One other thing that I have would be Diego asking Ben and Klaus's body. The one thing that Diego can know is Luther sniffs Dad's underwear.
Yeah.
And I thought that was funny. Yeah. And it was so nice to see, because Diego knew, because it was something that him and Ben only knew, and it was so true. And then he was just like loving it. A nice reunion with Ben and Diego.
Yeah.
Now, one sibling actually knows about Ben.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. So.
Exactly. I thought it was funny that Jill had sex with Klaus and Kichi, the Russian guy with the glasses, in the sex swing a week or so before this, when she's talking to Ben and Ben tells her that he's a virgin. She's like, wait, we just had sex we had a three-way in this sex swing and did all these positions and stuff. And he's like, oh yeah. I guess that was been one of those moments when Ben closed his eyes or went away.
Or was not even there watching. He was outside probably watching everybody else farm.
Yeah, exactly.
And I just love the little montage with Ben and Klaus's body. It's like he is feeling life for the first time, experiencing smell, feel, and the earth. And obviously he doesn't like oranges.
Yeah. That was funny. I saw that and then when I watched it the last time, I saw, oh yeah, he does spit out the orange or grapefruit or whatever.
Like,
it was a huge orange too. I mean, it was like gigantic. So,
well, it's a cool thing for the fact that, it's like him experiencing life again.
Yeah.
Even though it's through, Klaus, but
right.
He gets to feel all those things, when they were doing like the snow angels in the dirt, him and the girl.
Yeah. So we've got some quotes here.
Yeah. I have one. The handler saying, you're really filling out those little shorts of yours to 5. It was a bit creepy and funny at the same time.
Yeah. When Klaus and Ben are having their conversation, Klaus says, I so rarely listen to you. And then you already mentioned that we need to talk about the ground rules. I thought that was great.
Yeah. Next up would be Lila saying, I love that shit Muppet. When Lila sees his, Elliot's dead body, and when they pan over the body, Elliot's toenails had a light green nail polish on them. It shows how eccentric that Elliot was. Apparently, Lila knew based on that aspect alone.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that. Any time I watched the episode, I must have blinked or something, but that's a good catch there. I loved when Ben was as Klaus and he asked Jill if he could smell her hair. He said, can I smell your hair? Just another one of those weird kind of things.
That is true. The last one I would have would be Klaus saying, oh, my God, we're back again. We're going to show you the way. Backstreet Boys plays after one of his followers asks one last departing news.
Yeah.
What could you give to us before you leave? And the montage with Allison fighting with the Sweets during the Backstreet Boys or Backstreet's Back.
Yeah.
And Klaus is battling Ben with his body at the same time as he's heading towards Luther and 5 down the alley.
Yeah, and I talked about it a little bit earlier. My last one is just when 5 is talking to Vanya and she wants to bring Sissy and Harlan to the future. 5 says no one is insignificant. And I picked up this last time watching it, or one of the last times watching it, that's been kind of a theme throughout this season, really, is that everyone has something. Everyone matters. Everyone means something, and everyone can make a difference. I thought that was really, really cool, and I picked up on that, that it's been 5 and Diego are both been the ones who've been, no one's insignificant. Everyone's important and all that, but yet you have Luther saying, oh, nobody likes me, and I'm a horrible person. So I really like that this is kind of a theme, and I wonder if it's going to play out the rest of the season or if it's just kind of a one-off kind of thing.
I hope it plays out. That would be a good thing.
Yeah. So we had some feedback for this episode. Do you want me to go ahead and read it?
Sure.
This is from our good friend Daphne. She says, hey, Mark and Steve, I am loving your coverage of Umbrella Academy and look forward to following it through to the end of the season. R.I.P. Elliot. I'm still bummed that he is gone and was happy to see that thanks to Allison, we're down to just one Swede. Though sad Ray didn't return Allison's I love you, I was glad he decided he'd go back to the future with her. Yeah, I don't know if he had decided that or not, but it doesn't matter now. So, Freaky Carl has got to go. His hoof and mouth disease story to Vanya might have been scary if he was telling it to anyone else. I feel for Sissy that her husband is willing to use their son against her. She says, this is Daphne continues, I was laughing at Luther and Diego trying to look up Ooga for Ooga in the phone book was hilarious. Us too, Daphne. looking forward to episode 8 already, and this is the first time I've gone week to week with a show that dropped all at once. We're on the home stretch. Thank you so much, Daphne. I appreciate the fact that you're going week to week with us, as Strange Indeed is doing that as well. I'm doing that. Mark has bad memory, but he kind of went rogue on us. But he's got a bad memory. He doesn't remember what happened the last 3 episodes. So
I can't remember yesterday. What did I do yesterday?
Yeah.
Hold on.
Yeah. So, but I do appreciate, Daphne. I want you to know that you are following with us week to week and not jumping ahead.
Yeah, definitely. And it's awesome that people are doing that. And it's one thing that it's pretty cool if you do that with a podcast, just like Strange Indeed does. And Rima sticks to that rule of, I have to watch it 1 episode at a time.
Yeah.
And I just love that aspect of them. And we have a little bit of news. And apparently The Walking Dead Season 11 is going to be the official end of the main show by 2021 or 2022, depending on how they film. And there will be a Daryl and Carol spin-off show that will come out either late 2022 or 2023. So, this show actually brought Steve and I together because we met through Walking Dead casts on
Podcast
Network, and we went to the Jason and Karen's Patreon, and then that's how we met, and we've met in life. He stayed at my house for in December once, and with a bunch of other Zed heads from that group, and and that's how I was able to have him on my podcast, and that's why he's a co-host. And on top of that, we've made a lot of friends, and now this is the end of a show that we all became friends on. But there are other things that we could actually talk about because we are still a great knit group, and I love it. And there are other things that we all have in common too regarding these shows and other interests, and it's fun to do. But the fact that the actual main show itself is leaving, I don't know really what's in store for Fear the Walking Dead. And we know that the other spin-off show that's coming out, and I think it's in October as well, just after the season 10 finale comes out, that's only for like 2 seasons at limited, maybe 10 episodes per.
Something like that. Yeah, that's what I've heard. I think it's 2 10-episode seasons.
So this is an end of an era, but like I stated before for last week for comic news, you could actually go back and reread the actual comic if you want, because they're releasing it in October in color format. So that's interesting for that. But the fact that this show has been on for over 10 years now, if you think about it, and that's a long stretch for a show. And other shows have gone longer. Obviously The Walking Dead was not going to be like The Simpsons, where they could do over 30 seasons.
Right. But no, it is. And the last 2 seasons, especially season 9 and season 10, have been excellent. I know a lot of people dropped off with the Negan years. That was just that Negan war.
Those 2 years, those 2
just
seasons
dragged. It dragged and on, and some people jumped off the show. But now it's back, and it's doing great. So I'm looking forward to the rest of season 10, and then see what they do to close it out. I appreciate any show that is able to kind of go out on top. I think there's so few shows that are able to do that. I mean, I think like Breaking Bad is one that got to kind of go out on top. MASH, of course, 30, 40 years ago, it got to go out on top.
Supernatural,
I think is going out, fairly good ratings. They've been the top CW show for quite a while now, and so it's going to end with this 15th season. In fact, if you follow any of those actors' social media, you'll know that they have just wrapped filming on the final episode. And I saw on Jensen Ackles' I think it was on his Instagram feed that he showed that he said every season, every script he ever had for the last 15 years has ended with "to be continued," and he showed up the end on the bottom of the last script that he had. So
wow,
definitely end of an era. I have watched Supernatural since the beginning, and I'm looking forward to when they start airing their last episodes as well. So
yeah, it's an end of an era, but thank goodness that The Walking Dead hopefully will end on a high note. because it made a comeback after, like you stated before, the Negan years.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Yeah, something that I and Jason Gabassi actually talked about on a messenger once, saying that it should literally be only about 8 episodes at most, and they dragged that out, and that was the only drawback to that show during that time. Yeah, it was just like, oh, let's keep stretching it out, but they made a comeback with season 9, even though we lost Rick within that season. And I'm pretty sure with the other characters, they'll do a lot more. I wouldn't be surprised that we do lose a few characters, but obviously, Carol and Daryl, we already know they got.
I was going to say they kind of spoil it there that Carol and Daryl are going to survive. I think that's kind of bad that they. I mean, I understand why they wanted to make that announcement, because they want to make sure they keep fans interested, but at the same time, it kind of spoils it for it. So.
Yeah, and also the Walking Dead rewards. I don't know if a lot of you who are fans of the show, of The Walking Dead fan rewards is ending by October. So whatever points that you have, you should really utilize now, because that's going to go away completely.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning of the decline to me when I started seeing things going away. So use those points. If you have a ton, I have a ton, I should start downloading wallpapers and things of that nature just for fun, because without it you can't get those things. So use those rewards points and keep watching The Walking Dead. It's coming back. We only have another it's coming back in the beginning of October, I think, so we got a few weeks going until we actually see it come back, so watch out for that.
All right. Sounds good. So we got some podcast recommendations here. I just listened to this week's Inside of You podcast with Michael Rosenbaum. He interviewed Jensen Ackles.
Oh, cool.
And as I've already stated, I'm a huge Supernatural fan. I can't wait to see, I hope this isn't a spoiler for anybody, because it's been all over social media as well, that Jensen Ackles is going to be in season 3 of The Boys. And he, in this interview, he doesn't mention that at all, though. So I'm assuming this interview was done before that announcement became official, because he doesn't say anything about The Boys in it. But he does mention that he's up in Vancouver during his 14-day quarantine that the Canadian government is making them do before they can leave their house. So next week, Michael Rosenbaum will be interviewing Jared Padalecki. So that'll be kind of cool. So look out for those 2 podcasts.
Definitely. And I love Michael Rosenbaum because he goes really deep. It becomes more of a personal podcast if you think about it, when he goes into like talking about certain things.
It's really good.
I enjoyed it, and I'm glad I got you hooked on it. My recommendations would be TV Podcast Industries with their coverage of Lovecraft Country. Keep following them.
Yeah, I believe I think I said this last week, but that's coming out on both the Dreadful podcast feed and TV Podcast Industries feed. So depending on, I keep getting it multiple times because I'm subscribed to both. So maybe I've got to unsubscribe to one of them, but it's not a big deal.
Yeah, both. Who cares?
Yeah.
Next up would be Run for Your Lives with Daphne and Paik on the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. Yes, that would be my network, of course, and I'll state it again. Panels to Pixels will remain on the Next Level Podcast Network. So, but they have their third episode out now, and they cover Jurassic Park.
Hold on to your butts.
I sent feedback, and you sent feedback as well.
I did. Hold on to your butts.
Yeah. So you could hear us there. For YouTube recommendations, as always, I always recommend the Grim Life Collective with Michael and Jessica with their Up All Night with the Grims. Movie watch with people on their YouTube channel as you watch a movie that is on YouTube, and you could converse with them with another media device, so check them out. John Campea on the John Campea Show, which as well is pretty much an interactive YouTube, because he discusses the news of film and pop culture. It's very interactive. His show is available live daily, so he's usually prompt 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, depending. It might be delayed, who knows. He has Robert Meyer Burnett at times, who created the movie Free Enterprise back in 1998, and he's been a producer. He actually did some behind-the-scenes stuff for the Lord of the Rings movies, like the documentaries or the mini docs that they did. The 1998 Free Enterprise movie is about trekkers. It's actually a story-long movie, but it's pretty cool. It's a funny film, And as well, he also has actress Erin Cummings, who you've seen in Lucifer and a few other shows too.
And as always, we wrap up with letting you know where you can send us your feedback. You can hear this podcast, if you're hearing it on now, you can hear it on various podcast players, whichever podcast player is your choice. We're on just about all of them out there now, I think. We also have a website, which is panelstopixelspodcast.com. Also, you can submit feedback on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/panelstopixels. You can shoot us an email, as Daphne did, to our email address, which is panelstopixels1@gmail.com. That's panelstopixels1. The TO is spelled out right there in the middle, and the number 1@gmail.com. You can call us and leave a voice message at 845-350-2095. That's 845-350-2095. We are also on YouTube, and you can hear us there. You can subscribe to our channel. Give us a thumbs up. Help us out with ratings and reviews. We'd love it. You can send us feedback on any of the episodes of Umbrella Academy Season 2. We do ask that if you send us for a episode we haven't covered yet, just make sure you put it up there in the subject line, because I don't want to be spoiled.
I'll be spoiled too.
Yeah, because your memory. Yeah,
I suck.
But just let us know what episode you're sending us feedback on, and that way we can make sure we don't get spoiled if we haven't seen the episode yet.
And where else can listeners hear us? Well, I can be found right here on Panels to Pixels, as well as sending out audio feedback to other podcasts that I love that my friends do. You can also hear me on a new podcast that will be releasing in a couple of weeks called Adrenaline Cinema, and that can be found on my network called the Pirate Core Entertainment Network. And the podcast will be about those action adventure films, pure action films, and anything to do with what gets your adrenaline going while watching an action movie, you know? All those adventure films. And like I stated before, Panels to Pixels will remain on the Next Level Podcast Network. Stay tuned here, and we will keep you up to date. Or just check out Pirate Core Entertainment's website, and that's Pirate, and Core is spelled out CORPS, entertainment.com. And if you have an not understanding of what Pirate Core was named after, I recommend you look for an old comic book, because I kind of got that from my friend Evan Dorkin, who had a comic book called Pirate Core, and the core, it was CORP, and the S was with the $, because it was a futuristic pirate company. But if you can even find that comic. So if you guys do, I have like 2 copies of each issue, and they only put out 3. So good luck with that.
All right.
And you?
Oh, I send voicemails to lots of other podcasts. You can hear my voice just on I pop up on different podcasts all the time. I'm going to stay right here on Panels to Pixels. I may pop in on Mark's podcast. I may pop up on Daphne and Pake's. People apparently like to hear my opinions, so I appreciate that.
We like to cross the streams. Unlike what, who was it in Ghostbusters said, don't cross the streams. Well, we're going to cross the streams. We're going to do that. Who cares?
Yeah.
We like to have fun, and we love to podcast. So.
Exactly.
So, well, that was our show this evening. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Panels to Pixels. And we'll see you on the next panel. Good night, everybody.
Good night.